And the thing that I always appreciated about you, Julio, is you're honest. And sometimes direct honesty gets met with he's abrupt.
Mm.
But direct honesty, you can always be sure of where you stand with you. And what you said just now is so important for anyone that is in your schools or worked with you. The gift you're given now, and this is why I'm on the show today and why I wanted to flip it around, because you have the Joe Rogans of the world, and everyone goes out and writes books, but your books and your podcasts were designed from your heartbreak and struggle, so no one has to do it again. I look at it like the book is a gift. Your podcast is a gift to anyone who's been in your school who wants to do what you do because you're raw. You're like, this is where I fell down. This is how much it hurt, but it won't kill you, and you've got to get up. Let's talk about after you leave 21, you get the big salon, but then you almost die. I remember when you were in the hospital, and went up there to see you, and John Paul called you on the phone. I said, "Well, JP, he's in a coma. He can't take the call right now."
He did leave a message, and I kept that message, which when I woke up from that, it was amazing to hear that somebody like John Paul would take the time out, and many other people to try to get in touch with me, even though I was in a coma. Even some clients, like, "What do you know when he's waking up? Because I need my hair done."
Yeah, I've got
So
an appointment. So is Mary going to do me today? What's the deal?
yeah, exactly. How long do you think he's going to be out? I always look at the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon, when his barber was in a coma and he goes to the the hospital with scissors and he's trying to wake him up to get his hair cut. That's how I was told. I mean, I was left many messages, but in that right before that happened, I did have the bigger salon and spa in Clifton Park called Central Belitza. And I just signed a lease to start expanding because I knew I wanted to grow. I knew I wanted to expand, not because I wanted to become rich. I wanted to help other people because I helped them in my salon and I watched them grow. And I know that we could do this together and grow even more. Money was never the focus of why I did things. I did
No.
it because of the love of people that was given to me, and now it was my turn to give it back. But yeah, I fell into that coma. It was an elective surgery. Who knew, that I'd be in ICU for 6 months on ventilators. But it took 6 months in the hospital, and followed by multiple surgeries after that and many challenges. But I had a choice, have a pity party or keep going forward. Whether you're in a wheelchair, on oxygen tank, you still have a lot to give. Don't get me wrong. At one point, I wanted to give up everything and me. Just, yeah, I'm not worthy anymore. I'm priceless. But great mentors and great friends like you guys were like, man, you still have things to offer. You still have things to give. And you inspired me to get back and fight the odds. And I did. It took 3 years, but I fought the odds of what the doctor said would never be possible. They were wrong. And I believe that was my God and who sent me the right mentors and the right people like you guys in my life to propel me forward. And that's my
I,
job.
what you just said is so important because a lot of people, because we are close friends, and that's one
Yeah.
of the friendships I value very much. And you've always got my back, and I've got yours. And so when that happened, I remember now if Julio goes away selfishly, I'm going to catch all the heat. At least when problems happen, we could split the problem. So when you came out and you realized that, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but you were chosen. And I believe everything has a plan, everything has a season, and it wasn't your time. And at that time, I believe the person taking care of you from up above said, "You've got bigger things to do."
Yeah.
So, did you ever feel that? And when you did, if you did feel it, what was that transformation? When did you go, "I have to do this now"?
I fought with that because I did pass away, and the doctors did tell my parents he's going to have a 10% survival chance. Most likely, he drowned on his lung, lost a lot of oxygen. He'll probably be brain damaged. And my mother said he already was. So,
Yes,
we're not going to worry about
don't play.
that.
That's
But
enough of you had.
it was a stupid anyway. But But when I woke up and like I said, I went through that self pity for a little while. All of a sudden, when I started to revive and take some walks, and I never noticed trees before, I never noticed lawns. It just the and looking back at the coma, I can remember every dream in that coma, and something spiritually was fighting for me. And I
Yeah.
realized that it was God saying, you're not done, and these evildoers are not going to take you. We're going to fight for you, and you're going to go out there and finish what I put you here to do. Uh, and it just was it was like how can you say, the Holy Spirit just came on to me and said, go. And
And
I did.
yeah, and I love the fact that you're proud to talk about it because in today's environment, you got to be careful what you say. But I was there with you. I know what happened. I saw what happened. So, and then I look at the gifts you were given, like your boys, Stefano and Giulio.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember holding them when they were brand new and they were in Central Belize. And at that time, your salon was the it salon. So we would decorate those windows with snowboards and hay bales. And Stefano was too small, but Julia would knock it down. I'm like, come on, Julia. And Nikki was there. So, I mean, and now they're such fine young men and you've raised them right. So if you don't mind touching on that, because a lot of people out there are going, yeah, but I'm a single parent or I'm a parent, but I don't know if I can do that many hours because you juggled it all. I remember going in there and you're like, can you come by at like 8 o'clock to do my color order? Of course I can. I mean, that's what we did. And you and I worked, or we would shovel driveways when it snowed in upstate New York. You helped the salon. And I remember the little pom pom hats your sons had, these crazy things just stayed in my head. So first, you get young Giulio. I remember when he came here. So let's talk about how that, because I think, when was he born? Was that after when you went in the hospital or
Yeah, he
before?
did. He was he while I was in the recovery of the rehab hospital, he just turned one. And
That's what I thought.
no, I think Stefano just turned one and Julio was just turning three.
Oh, he's three. That's right. They're 2 years apart.
Yeah.
So, and I know you because that's some of your proudest achievements. You and I talk about fatherhood and what it means to us. But as you're in there and you're still fighting and God steps in, you have to. I just know your heart has to go, well, I got two boys. I got to go to basketball camp or something. What's going through your mind then in rehab?
Well, I'll tell you, they were another reason for wanting to keep going. I love my kids very dearly.
Yes, you.
And people know it because, man, I just, they're my heart, my soul, my everything. Um, how can you not love your kids? And I knew that I had to be the role model that they needed in their life. So, I did everything. My actions were for them. My behavior was for them because kids will mimic what they see.
Oh yeah,
And I wanted to make sure they had a good foundation, a good culture, a great faith base. And I have to give credit to my ex-wife at the time, it was my wife, that she also had that kind of mentality as well. Is we lived for our kids to make sure that
yeah,
we could give them a great quality of life, because that's what my parents did for us. They were the example of what it meant to sacrifice. And we would bring him to the salon. I mean, he was
oh yeah,
just a baby. Dula, before Stefano was born, he would come and sit in his baby chair, and he grew up in the salon. And so did Stefano. They grew up in the schools, so
yeah,
they grew up in the atmosphere. So a lot of times it is difficult for single parents to raise kids. And today, what's great about being a hairdresser, even being a stay-at-home mom or dad, you can open a little salon in your house and be stay at home and still work at home and produce income.
yeah,
At that time, that was unheard of to do that, type of business, in your house. But whatever it takes now, it is possible. And here's the thing, though, you know, a lot of people always say, Jewel, I want to do what you do, but are you willing to do what I did? You got to do the did to get to the do.
yeah,
Now, I did sacrifice a lot of time, but I made sure that the time that I spent with my kids was the most quality time available. I left work to go watch the game and then ran back to work, or I would go to their
yeah,
practice. If I traveled to do shows, when I got home, I made sure I spent time with them. And what I mean by that is I didn't spend time on the phone. I didn't spend time texting. I didn't spend time. I was in the now with them.
You had dad hours. I remember we talked
Yeah.
about that. Like certain times I'm unapproachable. I'm with my kids. And I think, and this might make you blush, it might even touch your heart a little too much, but I know both your boys. And I remember when we would go set up Ultimate Face at the school meetings, such gentlemen, because sometimes I couldn't go, so my wife's by herself, and both your boys would come help her set up. And the way they speak about you with such love and reverence. And anytime I speak to them, it's this way. And it's like, Gary, and they love you so much, they respect you so much. And the cool thing is they don't begrudge the time they didn't have. They only see the great time they had. And they understand what you sacrificed to be where you are so they could be where they are. Because like Stefano and I talked about what you went through to get here, and he doesn't know if he could have done what you did. That's the level of respect your boys have for you.